So, I guess we are live. I just need the little signature. It's saying we're live. Okay, hi. So it's the last eclipse of this round of eclipses. It's a big one again. The biggest was 2 weeks ago, the new moon. This is a full moon, lunar eclipse. Dette er en fuldmåne, formørkelse, og den er vigtig. Det er den sidste i denne omgang. I will start in English and go over into Danish. I'm sitting in a car. That was my only option. Jeg sidder i en bil, det var lige min mulighed her. So I don't have power for my computer. So I will turn down so that I can barely see anything myself, to turn down the brightness so that it will function as much as possible. So I will start in English and I'll try to keep it shorter this time. Jeg starter på engelsk, går over i dansk. Prøv at holde det lidt kortere den her gang. What is important for us to know for this eclipse? First of all, we have 6 eclipses this year, where we usually have only 4. This means it's intensified. The magnetic field of the Earth is thinner during these times of eclipse season. This means that higher information is more likely to go through. So what we focus upon grows. It's a time of alchemy, so things grow even faster, so be very aware of what you focus upon during these times. It's very interesting because it's a full moon in 14 degrees of Capricorn, and this means that we actually have to look back 5 years. Look back 5 years in your life, where we had the first activation of this part of our horoscopes. Of course, if you know your chart, you can go much deeper into what exactly is going on, but it will even work for you to understand the levels I'm talking about here. So in 2015, go back in your life for 2015, starting in January, and then again in July, and then again in October of 15. Around this time, doesn't have to necessarily be that you can remember exactly what happened. It might come to you during the program, because it can be very internal, but it can also be very concrete. Something shifted permanently in your life in 2015, transformed on a bigger level, and a transformation on a bigger level. It can have had something to do with fear. It was very intense. It was big life changes. January, July, and October. Then, and try to just close your eyes and try to find out, because it's these 14 degrees where we have the eclipse. We had the eclipse in Denmark, Danish time, at 6:45 this morning, up here in Capricorn. Something changed permanently in your life, something powerful. And then in January 2009, it was Pluto who entered the area for the astrologers. Then in January 2019, Saturn entered this area. So there were new choices to be made, new commitments in this area that started in 15, new commitments and reformations in your life. You made new choices around this area. Then Jupiter reached these degrees in February 2020, the same degrees, and that meant that you had to develop and strengthen this area of your life. And now we have the eclipse this morning at 6:45, and it's a closing eclipse. It's ending it. So something is ending in your life that has been going on over 5 years. And you end this or close it up by honoring this new power or strength that this eclipse has given you. A new sense of life direction, a new sense of purpose that was developed over these years. Maybe it externalized in a specific thing I was Someone wrote me, often people write me about astrology. Someone wrote me yesterday and said, oh, it had something to do with a relationship. And for others, maybe something to do with their work. But it doesn't really matter how it externalized. What matters is what you learned, the energy. It's an inner, what can you say, power development. So it's in Capricorn. So it's an internal power development of some kind. And again, it's your own sense of purpose or mission in the world. And I don't know if you remember, but last week I talked about that the best way to change your life is through being authentic and following your heart. I sang this song. That the one that wants to change the world does it by following their heart. So if you are you authentically, you will do that. But fear comes up this year, so that we are a little bit afraid to do it. And in Cancer, no, in the Capricorn, there's always some kind of agenda. And it's a new sense of mastery or life purpose or direction in your life, where you master something now. And this eclipse will put a light upon something you didn't see. And remember, sometimes in these cases, when it comes to this, it's subtly. And you need to have a balance. The way I see astrology is that to reach the central region, for those of Sage Mark or Heartfulness seeing this, you need to balance each sign. You cannot master one sign without mastering the opposite. And since it's a full moon eclipse, and for those of you watching in Danish, let me see how much battery is left, how fast it's using it. 88, okay, it's okay. If I don't get to do the whole Danish one, you just have to watch the English. So it's a full moon. What does that mean? It means that the sun is in Cancer, down here. The sign of Cancer, where it's about comfort, inner sacred space, honoring your inner child. And the moon is up there in Capricorn, being highlighted by the sun, being lit up by the sun. So if you want to master this full moon eclipse, you have to find a balance, an inner balance. And this eclipse will last for a half a year, or actually 5 months. You will have ended this process that I talked about from 2015, and then again in 19 and 2020 now. This phase will be finally closed in December. This part of it. You have to remember that 2020 is the craziest year. If anyone were to write a movie or a script for a movie, it would just be no, way too intense, right? So this is just one layer of what's going on. So you need to balance. So on one hand, honor this new sense of direction in your life and purpose and new mastery and power that you've gotten, but at the same time, you need to honor a process that's going on. I talked about it last time, but it's relevant again this time. There's a process going on within you. This is, when I talked about the Capricorn, it's up here in the chart. It's the world, it's your commitments to the world. It's always having an agenda, right? Capricorn always has an agenda, Stenbukken. Down here in Cancer, it's all about being in a space without an agenda. It's balancing who you are now, and it's a soft energy. We also have Mercury here and a wide, not very close conjunction, but close enough. So Mercury is communication and movement, and it's slowing down. It's like, it's a water sign, and Mercury wants to move. And how do you move in water? I remember wanting to run towards someone in water once on the beach, and it's not really possible. So there is this tiredness of wanting to rest. So there's a need to balance your emotional Cancer, inner needs. Here we have, it's also the root of the chart, right? It's the bottom of the chart. So it's where you go for comfort and for recharging, and make sure you're comforting yourself and What's best for you now? Cancer wants to know what is best. Whoops, let me see. What is best for you now? So go into the feelings and don't, focus all on your career or what you want or your agendas. And you need to take some time. There's something in your life you cannot rush right now. And this part of your life needs for you to take time with it. Be quiet around it. Let it evolve. Don't rush. You can't rush right now into things. We also have Mars in play here, close to Chiron. He wants to move forward. 8 planets in cardinal signs. It's like, we want to start now. Come on. We want things to move, especially if you remember on the 25th when Venus went forward, something shifted in your relationships on the 25th of June. And she went forward. And then Mars in his own sign of Aries is like, let's go, let's do it. Capricorn, Cancer, and Aries are all cardinal signs that initiate us. But Chiron is there with Mars and Aries. Chiron says, take it easy. I have been wounded somehow. I have been shown where I need extra care and where I need to ask others for help. And I can't have you rushing like that. There's a square between Mercury that wants to take it slow throughout most of July, and then Mars that wants to move forward. And that's between the warrior and communication. So watch out for aggressively arguing with people. There can be a tendency of impulsively just, Of course, for the people who find it hard to express themselves, that always just go and bottle up emotions and stuff, this can be a time where it's easier to get things said. And sometimes it's also better to clean out the air, right? If you have someone, so you can use it for that as well. And it's very good to start new projects, but without really starting them. We have too much in retrograde right now. The outer planets are in retrograde, so there's an honoring of a cycle of something transforming over a larger period of time. And of course, with this Mars conjunct Aries, in the next half a year, conjunct Aries and square with Pluto and all this thing going on in Capricorn, people can be taking things to the street, definitely. And we have Saturn returning to where it went when the internet started, like 29 and a half a year ago. Saturn was back here, and the internet back then was supposed to be this free space of communication where we were able to communicate freely and get free information without having to pay for it. But this time, its restrictions starts coming. So it's funny to see how things are developing now. It's also because of the January eclipse that I've talked about many times, and all astrologers, we all knew that the world would change. So in a way where it would never be the same again, and that's going to be activated now several times. August, September, October, November, December. From one angle or the other, it's going to be activated because everything is retrograding close to that again, and Mars is going to be squaring it, and so there will be a wave 2 of what we went through in a new light. Maybe we are wiser. What would be good is to trust the process, because it's a reconstruction of the old world order, and of course it's going to hurt because we are fearful of what all of this change, what is it going to lead to. But the best thing you can do is trust the process. Even though we have this pile up that I'm talking about, then I believe that it is our destiny to consciously connect to the source of it all. That is our destiny. And how do you connect to the source? It's only one way, as I see it. Trust. Trust is the open heart. You trust the process. Was it 1970? I think I have it on one. I have a piece of paper where it says 1918. we had the last pandemic flu, and that was actually the second wave that was the worst. But we have to trust in the processes, and we have this relationship to death. Death is inevitable. So the one who wants to really find their way into there is the source, God, the universe, whatever we want to call it, needs to make friends with death. Because trusting is an open heart. Fearing is a closed heart. When you trust,
there is this angel saying, I'm gonna find my way back home. The secret is love, he said. You've got to lift yourself up, try again. One day you will break through. What you long for will find you. Through all the hard times, I always seem to find the light in your eyes. We fall through.
don't follow trends, follow your heart.